Welcome, this is Coach Dorf. We're in section 3.6 and we're looking at a homework example. In this example, we're finding the derivative of the function y equals the inverse tangent of the square root of x minus 1. Let's begin by reviewing what is the inverse tangent. So what is a tangent function? Well, a tangent function or any trig functions can be thought of as a circular function. That means if I take my regular xy axis and draw a unit circle on there, then I can put in a triangle, a right triangle, with the side lengths of x for the base, y for the height, and the hypotenuse of being 1. So in this particular diagram here, I know that the tangent of theta, because that's theta is in the triangle there, the tangent of theta equals y over x. And I can think of here that I'm taking the tangent of an angle and I'm getting a ratio of lengths. So what is the inverse tangent? The inverse tangent switches the orders of these things. It undoes the tangent function. So the inverse tangent now, I'm not going to take an angle, but I'm going to take the ratio of the sides. So the inverse tangent of y over x is going to equal my angle. So as an example, I know that the tangent of pi over 4 equals 1. All right, if I look at, then how would I write the inverse tangent related to these numbers? Well, the inverse tangent of then the ratio of these lengths, which would be 1, would equal the angle, which is pi over 4. So see how the tangent of pi over 4 equals 1 is equivalent to the inverse tangent of 1 equaling pi over 4. Now, in finding the derivative, we had the function y equals the inverse tangent of the square root of x minus 1. So what is the inverse tangent of just x, or the derivative of the inverse tangent of x? Well, the derivative of the inverse tangent of x is given by the formula 1 over 1 plus x squared. All right. But in most cases, we're not going to be dealing with a function so basic as x there. So what if I have something more complicated? What's the inverse tangent of, we're just going to put a box here. What's it going to equal? Well, it's going to equal 1 over 1 plus that box squared times the derivative of that box. So in this particular example, by the way, that derivative part of the box at the end is because of the chain rule. So in this particular problem where I have y equals the inverse tangent of the square root of x minus 1, if I take the derivative, so y prime is going to equal the derivative of that inverse tangent, and we're going to put a box there. And what's that going to equal? Well, that's going to equal then 1 over 1 plus that box squared times the derivative of that box. Then what goes in the box? Well, what goes in the box is that square root of x minus 1, because that's what we have right here. So I'm going to get here square root of x minus 1 and square root of x minus 1. So then when I simplify this, I have 1 over 1 plus, and now I have the square root of x minus 1 squared. Well, that's just going to give me an x minus 1 there. And now I have to take the derivative of square root of x minus 1. So what is the derivative of the square root of x minus 1? Well, I can think of this as the derivative of x minus 1 to the 1/2 power. And when I do that, I can use the power rule to get, I take the exponent, bring it down up front, and I take my term and I reduce the exponent by 1. So 1/2 minus 1 would give me minus 1/2. And then by the chain rule, I need to take the derivative of what's inside the parentheses, which would be x minus 1. So I then have 1/2 x minus 1 to the negative 1/2, and then that derivative is just going to be 1. And then I could rewrite this as 1 over 2. And now the x minus 1 to the negative 1/2 power means I would have x minus 1 to the 1/2 power in the denominator, or I could rewrite that as 1 over 2 square root of x minus 1. So that all goes, that part, this goes back up here, so that I get 1 over 2 square root of x minus 1. Now we simplify this part here, that the 1 and the negative 1 cancels out, so that's just equal to x. And so I can rewrite this all as 1 over 2x square root of x minus 1. And that's my final answer. Hope that helps.